Welcome to Being Curious podcast show with Counselling Reflections, a podcast where we dive deep into the human experience, uncovering stories of resilience and triumph. We are proudly supported by Moskin, a UK-based skincare line infused with sea moss.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited by today's guest. I'm really into mindfulness, so I think that's probably why I'm really excited. I've had a stressful day, so really I could do some strategies on how to cope. So my guest again is Namrata, and I would like you just to introduce yourself. I think you can do it better than me, and let everyone know where you are in the world.
All right. So my name is Dr. Namrata Pathak, and I am an Indian by origin, but I have been staying in the Middle East for the past 10 years, first in Oman and now in Saudi Arabia. And I have been into a profession for the past 16 plus years. And I started my journey as an academician. By qualification, I am an MBA and a PhD. And after that, I started my journey as an academician at various colleges, both in India as well as the Middle East. Eventually, I had certain personal issues and family issues because of which I had to take a break from my full-time career. So that's when, when you're working, you always try to keep yourself engaged even when you're not working. So during that time, it was quite a stressful time for me. I had undergone a major surgery in the abdominal region. So which kind of really had not only made me physically, but also mentally weak. So I used to think, because I am a kind of a fitness freak. I always have been into yoga, and since due to that surgery, I was not able to have my fitness regime as usual that I used to have. So that usually kind of broke me mentally, and I was quite disturbed and depressed for quite a while, even after the surgery. So I was just wondering whether I'll be able to bounce back or not, because the doctors had always advised that you can't lift weights and you can't do the yoga postures that I used to do. So that really made me ponder, what can I do for myself? So because I couldn't just gain strength. And then eventually somehow I came across mindfulness. And that's how, when I read about it, I wanted to learn more. And then I took up courses, I started practicing, I started inculcating it in my life. And maybe 2 years later, I found myself, quitting my full-time completely and getting into mindfulness, because it helped me so much recover, not only from my physical, but from my mental, I would say, depression as well. And since it was, though it's very simple, but it's a highly, I would say, underrated, skill.
It's interesting. I'm listening to you, and there's so many questions I would like to ask. Sorry, I'm just having a little coffee. But you had a pathway, you had a goal, you had a career, you did your PhD, MBA, and then a life event, something that's really powerful, threw you off course in a way that you couldn't use your body in the way that you would want to. And that kind of caused the depression, or was it the whole kind of area of abdominal and recovery that caused?
Yes, because I was restrained, to do things that I loved doing. So, when you are restrained from doing things that you really want to, you kind of feel, left out, and you don't feel yourself.
Yeah. How did your family cope with you in that way? Because I can imagine, I don't know you, but I can imagine that you're energetic. You probably were really passionate with life at that moment. So in that space where you then felt really low and depressed, how did your family kind of understand you in that moment?
I think that was my family was a great source of strength. My parents, my husband, my in-laws, everyone. So everyone really cooperated well, and I think it is because of them that I bounced back, and it was they, who motivated and encouraged me that like you will be fine and you will be back to your normal self. It's just a matter of time. So
And
yes, has been.
who introduced you to mindfulness then? Who introduced you to, was it your own research and self-discovery?
Yes, I was I wanted to get, since I had taken a break from my job because I had a little baby whom I had to take care of at that point in time, and my own personal health was also not in a very good condition. So, but then at the same time, I wanted to divert myself from all those and enroll myself into learning something that benefits me. And somehow I came across this mindfulness, and my dad actually is a psychologist. So he asked me that you get into something like managing stress or something. He's a stress management expert. So even though he used to tell me, but he said that you learn yourself so that you know, because when someone is telling you, you don't really believe them at that point in time, right?
Yes.
So it was he who introduced me that you try to figure out in this domain, and then I researched and I came across this, and I asked him that can I just go ahead with mindfulness, and he said, yeah, go and try it out, and that's how I ventured into it, and rest.
What is it about mindfulness? So dad is a psychologist and knows about kind of mental health and this stuff. He deals with stress management. I can imagine he uses mindfulness in his practice, but he's saying to you, I think you need to explore this yourself and find out what's right for you. What
Yes.
was it about the practice? What was it about mindfulness in itself that you connected with in terms of
The thing that's staying in the present moment and being non-judgmental, these two phrases have really hit me very deeply. And I think these two things have helped me a lot in coping. Both.
so being in the present
Definitely.
moment and being non-judgmental, that's the kind of thing that holds you. What is it about those two aspects of mindfulness that resonates with you? Why did you kind of think, oh, actually, it's important to stay in the present moment for me?
See, because now I'll give you an example because I went through the surgery. So I was more than the surgery was over, right? But 3 months later, 4 months later, I was still in that traumatic mental state. So what I was doing, that I was still in that past, staying in that, that hospital thing, that surgery going on. So everything was going on always on my mind. So I was always in my past or my future, that since I had a surgery, I won't be able to do this, I won't be able to do that. So I was not living my present moment, that at this present moment, I am, over with the surgery. I am able to better manage, like I'd started walking, I started doing the basic chores that I had to do. So I was not staying in that present moment before I learned mindfulness. And the second thing about being non-judgmental is like we always feel, why did this thing happen to me? What is wrong with me? Something, all sorts of questions you have.
Yes.
You know,
I
bad,
agree.
ugly. Yes, you keep labeling things. We always keep labeling things that this is good, this is bad, this should not have happened. Whatever has happened has happened. Sometimes, we just need a lot of acceptance in our life to move ahead. because time is changing, life is changing, and if we flow with the time, I think we cope well.
Yeah. I remember being introduced to mindfulness when I was young through yoga. That was the way. But I battle with my practice. You know, sometimes I'm really full on and I can do it on a regular basis. But I do have really kind of long gaps where I struggle to have a practice, you know, maybe if it's like kind of slowing it all down. How do you kind of manage the practice or your routine of being present and, you know, non-judgmental and patience? You know, how do you cultivate your practice?
See, initially it was, I would be very honest, that initially it was very difficult. You know, first when you start off staying in the present moment, you know, things going on in your mind all the time, or being non-judgmental, that's not easy, I would say. It's simple, but it's not easy. So through practice, I started developing, and I started bringing back myself into this present moment. And I also inculcated, like, I had a few hobbies like painting and writing. So I restarted all of them because I had left all of those things during that phase. So and you know, these creative things, what they do, they bring you into a state of flow. You know, they help you get into that flow state, and that flow state is what that present moment awareness is. You know, when you're painting, you're only with that paint, the colors, the canvas, the brushes. You don't think about whether this painting is going to be good or bad or anything. Any creative person can relate with this. And or writing, you know, when you're writing something, like I have written a book, I write blogs as well. So when you're writing also, you are only in that writing, in that piece of article that you're writing. You are just thinking about it, around it. You're thinking about the experiences or the examples that you can, you know, add to it. So getting back to my hobbies, I think helped me a lot in inculcating this practice in my daily life.
I'm listening to you, and it almost feels that during this period, it was almost like a rebirth. You know, coming back to self. Actually,
It was that.
you lost yourself during and after the operation, and the kind of rumination kind of took over. But actually,
Yes, even while I was in my full-time job, you know, when you are in a full-time job, you don't have time for your hobbies, right? You already have family, you already have work, you already have work-related responsibilities, both at home and at the workspace. So I think that also did not give me time to connect with myself, to connect with my hobbies, to do things that I loved to do, you know, before I was a professional.
Yes.
I think now, you know, I'm always grateful that I'm glad I got that time. I think that was a pause button from the Almighty for me, you know, to come back to myself, because somewhere, you know, I was just in that daily hassle and in the outside world. I was not within myself.
It's interesting that you're saying that, because I think the world is really busy, isn't it? The world is really quite stressful for a lot of people across the world, and that we don't seem to have a pause button here in the UK. I think people are really struggling and they're working really hard, but they're not getting the benefits. For a majority, they're not getting the benefits of the money that they're producing, or just that actually life feels more complicated. And to have a pause button, yours was enforced in some way, wasn't it?
Yes. You know, so now when I look back, you know, I am really glad that, you know, that surgery happened. You know, otherwise I feel that I would have been at the same 9 to 5 job. I would have been doing the same things, and you know, life would have been just like that, you know, cribbing every day, complaining every day. And I have just come out of that, I think, groove. of
Yeah. And so he was able to take stock or step back a bit. I wonder for me, it feels like for me, listening to you, COVID did that for me in some ways, because even though it was a very stressful period personally in terms of just what was going on around me, and I was still working, but it did give me time because I couldn't do my normal things of like going shopping, going out with friends. I had to slow down, and then I had space to think and be present and feel my feelings and be with my feelings without trying to hide from them through being distracting. I could eat my food without trying to get to another place in a different way.
Yes.
How did you transition from I'm finished work, I'm starting a new practice and I'm giving up work? How did you kind of transition to be able to help other people in practice?
So eventually, when I started practicing, and that was just before COVID, and immediately after that, COVID happened. And so I was still practicing, and then at that time, people had started connecting again over phones or over social media, checking on people that if you're doing well, because we were all at different places. So I came across a lot of people who were, who had that same kind of mindset of worries, of anxiety, of being depressed. And when I slowly connected with family and friends, and I realized that, everyone is facing the same problem. So how can I help them? So slowly I started on with family, with friends. And when they started seeing the benefits, they started referring to people. That's how I got connected to more and more people. Because, and that's also my, aim, that to reach out to more and more people, to tell them that there is something more powerful than medicines, that can help you come out of your present situation if you're not happy in that present situation. And it not only has it not only calms your mental health, but you can see a difference in your physical health as well. You can see a quite evident difference, improvement in
I
physical.
agree with you because I see, although I might struggle with my practice, I do see the benefits of just spending a short amount of time, for me sometimes, or a long amount of time, just being still and trying to be present, whether that's, my breath work, whether that's kind of walking mindfully, left, right,
Yes.
in terms of a practice. For someone who doesn't know where to start, where would we start? How would a person who hasn't got any experience of mindfulness start?
Mm-hmm. So, see, the first thing that I recommend everyone, you start becoming aware of your breath. Our breath is our superpower. And if you only become aware of your breath, you just start breathing consciously. And I guarantee within 10 days, you can see a difference in your life. If you do it consistently for 10 days, you can see what impact it has on your brain, on your body. So, because most of the time, when I do my trainings and all, people usually complain this, oh my God, how do we do meditation? How do we practice mindfulness? We don't have time to breathe. And I say, that's exactly that you have to do. You have to take time out to breathe. Because most of the time we are working, we are busy, we are anxious, and we are not paying attention to our breath. And in any kind of a mental state, whether you're anxious, you're fearful, you're stressful, the one thing that changes is your breath.
So spending some time noticing your breath, you feel actually within 10 days, the awareness of how our breath is, the breathing in and out, and the way that we breathe, that in itself is a practice of being present, because we're just being aware of and paying attention to.
Yes, because Yes, because our breath is the only thing that is in the present moment. It's changing every second, right?
Yeah.
It's not in the past, it's not in the present, it's only happening in the now. It's
So,
not happening in the future.
but do you know what I found in terms of practice is that sometimes when I was stressed, even though I know that mindful practice is a good idea, I would struggle to have a practice because it kind of went out the window. I know what to do, but actually, I don't know what to do in that moment where I'm feeling stressed. How can someone who is feeling anxiety or feeling depressed in the moment, they know what to do, Namrata, but they just don't know how they can do it when they're in that moment where they feel all struggling to make sense of what's going on for them?
Just that's what I said. Bring yourself back to your body. You can just notice how your hands are like. Are they stiff? Are they sweaty? Where are your legs? How is your breath going? Is it going fast? Is it going slow? Where's your tongue in your mouth? How are your eyes? Are they watery? Are they dry? How does your hair feel? I think when we just bring our attention to our body, you can reduce your stress to quite a considerable percentage.
So just coming back into ourselves and just
Yes.
noticing our stress in our body, just going from like our head, our eyes, our nose, our face, our ears, and just seeing and sensing what's around us or how they feel, the temperature around us. But that seems like a really easy thing to do, isn't it? That seems such a straightforward,
Simple.
very simple.
Yes.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It is as simple, it is as simple and it is as powerful, I would say.
Yeah. How did you notice the difference? What did you see in your own life once you started your practice? Was you able to see the difference quite straight away, or did it take 10 days or more to kind of notice that actually there were some changes, happening with you?
No, see, of course, nothing happens overnight. So it did come with a lot of practice and with patience. So I have seen in myself that, I earlier was very short-tempered, very shy, and I also used to get anxious very easily on little things. So I think over time, I have overcome all those, traits of mine, having more patience with everything and everyone around, being less anxious about things because I've started being more grateful. And I think when we start being more grateful, our anxiety reduces considerably.
So you have some personalities, sort of shadow parts. That's where, you were anxious, that you were impatient at times. But gratitude for you, and cultivating gratitude really helped the change. So you tell us a bit more about that. And for people who don't understand that, what does that mean in terms of your own practice?
See, we are usually always chasing something. We want this, we want that, we don't have this, we don't have that. We are never happy with whatever we have. And that's the reason we are always chasing. We are always, working hard to get something or the other. So taking a moment to notice what you already have, even if maybe you don't have a job today, maybe you don't have a house today, but still you're breathing, you're alive. So you always have a chance to build a house, to have a job, to work hard, to get what you want. So in this present moment, what you have, being grateful for that, I think is a wonderful, power that we all have. But we just ignore and don't use that power to make our life, better out of that situation.
I think that it's a really beautiful and powerful thing to say. But when I think about some of my clients over the years, probably that gratitude when they've been feeling quite low and depressed for a long time, or life has kind of not treated them kindly in their lived experiences. Looking for gratitude in the smaller moments is quite hard for some of them because of the big things or the traumatic things that they've experienced. And I wonder then, that I know that gratitude kind of through like listening to I think Robert Kubert-San, John Kubert-San, and Rick Hansen, who talk about mindful practice and gratitude, that things can change. But I suppose, how do you help people to feel more grateful about their life and their experiences?
By, helping them notice that now someone who says that I'm not in good health. Okay, today you are not in good health, but still if you can walk, you can see, you can hear, you can breathe, you can talk, you have hands, you have legs. And just imagine that many people don't have all those, things. Many people can't walk, many people can't see, can't hear. Imagine what their life would be like. So, of course, we are blessed that we have at least this much of grace, that we are living a life and still we are not happy. We have food on our table. We have money so that we can buy the food. And some people have families, some people don't have families. During COVID, so many people lost their families. And even after that, the people who survived, who have their lives, who have their families. So I think they have a lot to be grateful for. A lot to be grateful for.
When you was growing up, your dad is a psychologist. What was family life like for you? Because I'm listening to you and you sound like a wise woman, but I can imagine you being wise at a young age. What was life like for you growing up in terms of experiences?
See, I have grown up in a small town and educated in a Catholic convent. And I lived in a joint family with grandparents, and my father had two other brothers and their families. So we all lived under one roof. So it was a huge family of around 25, 30 people staying under one roof.
And what was that like? I can't even imagine in one way, it must have been really fun if you've got extended family and you've got a lot of love. And on the other way, I'm thinking, did you ever have any space to be on your own and be quiet?
We never had that space to be quiet, and we never wished we had a space to be quiet. Because it was so much fun together, and, ours was a very lively family. Some or the other event, because in the Indian culture, we have lots of religious events happening, lots of festivals happening. And, celebrating all those things with those family members, even on our birthdays and, parents' anniversary, we never had many people from outside. It was the whole family coming together and celebrating the birthdays. Even today, like I talk to my children and I tell them, on our birthdays, we had so many people around and so many wishes around. So it was so much fun. I just can't tell that what kind of life that was. And, I sometimes feel sorry for my children that they stay in a nuclear family and they have not enjoyed that kind of
extended family.
And, staying in that family with so many elders, like today, if I scold my children, I have to, again take care of them. But when our parents used to scold us, there were so many other people to take care. You don't go to your mom. That doesn't matter. I go to my grandparents. I go to my aunts, to my uncles, to my cousins. So like they are, pampering you. They are patting your back, and they just take care of you. So you both.
That is lovely then. Do you think in terms of your beliefs and your faith, it comes from a really warm place that actually sounds like you had a lot of love with your extended family, and
Yes,
there was a really positive environment to grow
yes.
in.
Yes, it was. It was. In fact, I still recommend people that, if you have an option, stay with your parents, with your extended family, stay close by. It really helps in the growth of children because, children need a lot of love. And only parents, and these days when both parents are working, so I think somewhere children are left out.
Mm.
They don't feel that much loved. And a child who grows in a lot of love, grows with a lot of confidence, grows with a lot of, encouragement, and never feels insecure. I always had that sense of security that there's someone somewhere, somebody is around me to take care of me.
It's interesting because there's I think I came across a research or conversation where it said that families who had intergenerational connections the children tended to do much better or more secure. I'm mindful that we don't always have the best in-laws or the best extended family grandparents. For those of us who might not have had that, I'm appreciative that every experience is different. But there is something about having other people in your life to kind of lean into as a child when your parents tell you off, or just hearing stories of our grandparents. I used to love that, just listening within that. How did that make you more creative? You said that you actually write and you paint. Did you start your creative pursuits when you were young? Or is this something that
Yes,
came into?
yes. I always loved, I used to love to sing. I loved to dance. I loved painting and creative things like craft work and everything, even when I got from school. So I had my brothers, my cousins here, and they, used to tell me that you do such nice work, you do it for us also. So even they used to get their work done through me, and, they used to bribe me with chocolates and everything, that if you do this, you would get this. And that also encouraged me to do more of it. So I think eventually I started loving all those work. But yes, I think genetically also I have that thing in me because my dad is also an author. I am also an author. My grandfather also used to write and
Really?
read a lot. Yeah, yes. Read my, at my place, there are so many books. And my grandfather read all kind of genres. My dad reads and writes. So I think it is all in the
Yeah, it's
genes.
in the genes. It kind of is part of that. Must be really lovely to know that actually, one, that you're surrounded by books, but you're surrounded by people that want to write and express themselves through writing. What did was it your granddad and your dad, and what do you write about? What are your themes in the family in terms when you write?
I would say my grandfather, he was, even though he was a corporator, and he was the managing director of the largest coal India company of his time. He was also an MBA from the Syracuse University, USA. So in way back in 1961. So
Wow.
so he read a lot, he traveled a lot, and he was quite philosophical. He had read the Vedas, all the religious books. We had all the religious books at our place. We had the Bhagavad Gita, which is for the Hindus, the Bible, the Quran, and all these religious textbooks we had. So my grandfather was kind of philosophical. So he used to write all those things and life lessons and everything. In fact, he had a study room dedicated to himself, where he wrote and where he had also put, famous quotations which he created on his own.
Oh,
So, so he would hang that around.
what's one of these quotations? What is one of the things that he wrote in terms of quotes? Do you remember?
I don't remember quite a few, but most of them were philosophical, teaching the life lessons. Like one of them, I would give the translation because it was actually in Sanskrit. So the meaning of it was that even though we create a lot of material things in our lives, but we have to depart empty-handed from this world. So why get attached to all these things?
Can you say it in Sanskrit for me so I can hear it?
Actually, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I just remember one line of it. It was written "Jaske tas dhar dini chadariya." So that means that that chadariya means your material wealth, even your clothes. So you leave everything here and depart to the heavenly abode. And still, throughout life, we are chasing all those material wealth. So, and that was the crux of it.
His journey to the States, I can imagine in the 60s, that's quite early, isn't it? I think,
Yes.
to kind of migrate. How was he received as a human, as an Indian man?
He was quite loved. In fact, I have written a biography on his life.
Have you? Oh, yes.
Yes, I have authored a book in which I have, written about his life story. That book is available on Amazon as well.
And what's it called, so that we know?
Yes, I would share that. So he was received very well. And, most of his life, he lived on the principles of the life that he lived in the US with so much discipline, with, I think, warmth. And people were, very kind and cooperative at that time. So and we have been brought up with a kind of discipline, a kind of respect for everyone, a kind of, I think humility. And that is one reason he named me Namrata, because, he wanted to bring that humility in all of us. So I think he thought of this name. He gave me this name. So, and he told that humility is one quality that takes you to places. Anything without humility is meaningless. He used to say that even love is meaningless without humility. Like if you're not humble with someone you love, your love is, incomplete.
I love your granddad. I think he sounds like such a beautiful soul. He sounds really very much kind of an adventurer and open. And the fact that you kind of grew up with different teachings from around the world, from within your area and beyond, that's really lovely. But also to allow you to experience that. So then Dad's story, Dad is a writer. So what did Dad write about?
My dad is a psychologist, so he is a researcher as well. So he writes a lot about stress. He writes also about, because he's also into training of soft skills, communication, and he is a management professional as well. He has been a professor at the Indian Institute of Technologies, the famous IITs of India. So he had been a professor there. So he did a lot of research work and he wrote about that. In fact, he has a PhD in stress management itself. So he writes into that domain, into the domains of human resources and organizational behavior. Usually he studies behavior. So he writes about them. And, since he has also traveled a lot, I mean, he has been to the Europe, the US, and the Southeast Asian countries. So, when you travel a lot to different places, no, your perspective becomes very broad.
Yes.
Because you meet different people, you communicate with different people, every culture is different. And to gel with every culture, the one thing that you need is adaptability. So that's how, he has also adapted himself to different situations, to different cultures. And that's why he's very acceptable. At my place, we are not very rigid with customs or religion or something, even though we follow our religious practices, but we accept all other religions equally, with that same respect that we have for ours.
So the thing that I'm curious, you talked about your granddad, talked about your dad, and yet you're a woman, I don't know, and so what was it like to be a girl, not a boy, not a son, but actually having the opportunities as a woman to explore your own ideas and not have a very fixed, it sounds like your family's quite liberal, but also very traditional in terms of the things that they like to do.
Yes, yes. So I think that is a very, I would say, wonderful grace of God, that even at the time that I have been brought up, even though there were gender differences, but still in my family, the girls were very few, very, very few girls were there. But still, we were given the same opportunities as all the boys had. We were brought up. In fact, we were encouraged more to do, get into the professional world than the boys. The boys were bullied, the boys were scolded, but we were never scolded. We were never, differentiated that we can't do this or we won't do that. In fact, my grandfather always used to, tell the boys that she is a better child and y'all are not the ones, y'all are notorious. So that used to happen. But yes, I think I never felt that brunt that, that I am a girl and I don't have this opportunity. I went to the best school, I went to the best colleges, and I always had equal opportunities alongside my brothers. So it was never like, girls would be sacrificed for the boys. Whoever does well, whoever, performs well, gets the opportunity. So it was never kind of, yes.
Yeah. I'm talking to you and I'm missing your mum's voice with you. I can see you in your granddad, I can see you in your dad, and I wonder, what is mum's voice like? And who is your mum? And why is she a wonderful person for you?
See, I think, my mom is like that silent cheerleader, who cheers for everyone, who does everything for everyone. And I think, like I am a counselor, my dad is a psychologist. But in times when both of us are feeling low, she is the one who counsels us. And I think she is the strongest of all, because she manages to get us out of every situation. She is one woman I have seen with a lot of patience, like immense patience. Because very, very early in her life, when I was around 5 years of age, she went through a very life-threatening disease.
Mm-hmm.
So even the doctors had said that she won't survive. And at that point in time, my grandfather was there back then. And my grandfather said, even he scolded the doctors that if you all don't know what to do, just tell me, I'll take her to the West, to the best hospital in the world, but I will get her treated. But then when nothing was happening, he started, just praying, my grandfather. So, and, something clicked, something happened that after those prayers and those pujas were performed, she started recovering slowly. So I think a lot of family support, a lot of strength from the elders, and going through that ailment, and because my mom was a very active woman, so at that point when she was bedridden for a year, she felt quite weak and helpless, because like we as kids were also very young. I was 5, my younger brother was 3, and elder brother was 8. So seeing your children, not being able to take care of your children, because she has completely given her life to us as children, to family. So, but then when she survived that, I think that also transformed her. And that strength that she gained, she passed on to us. That she even tells us, that every situation changes. You just have to wait. You just have to have patience. And, that's how she has evolved herself.
I think there's something about post-traumatic growth, isn't there? That actually often when we struggle with the most difficult things in life, something comes out of it that is just really beautiful. A resilience, a growth, an insight, a new direction kind of comes out of just something that can be quite traumatic and stress. I went to do some training this week, and the facilitator said, even when people lose children they lose babies and young children, often these individuals come up to be the most caring individuals that anyone would ever experience because of that loss. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing, that in sadness, we can also have a powerful growth experience.
Yes. I think, these events come in our lives to help us evolve, to grow, to understand what strength we have in ourselves. So I think these events, we usually resist them, but they come in our lives to teach us some great lessons, that really change the course of our lives.
What do you do with your clients in terms of practice? Do you just mainly focus on the practice? Because you said that you're a counsellor. Do they mainly come for you for mindful-based practice, or do you do other things?
I do a counseling, because these days the most important thing that anybody who comes for counseling, or anybody who is in need of a mental support, the greatest thing needed today is someone to talk to. Just today I was talking to a client, and he is a young boy, and he was telling me a lot of things about his life and everything. He has parents at home, and considering that parents are of a different generation, the one thing that he said is that I feel like talking to someone, but I don't know whom to talk to. And this is the greatest need of today. And I have also spoken to many other, counselors or trainers or therapists, especially those who deal with teenagers or young adults. They also say the same thing, that everybody is going through one, vacuum, I would say. They don't have anyone to talk to.
Oh, interesting.
And talking only doesn't mean you talk about your likes, your dislikes, or something of interest. Talking about uncomfortable things, talking about things that are different, talking about things that are unusual. When we talk about unusual things, people just try to ignore, just let it be, this is not something usual, or but you have to have an open mind and an open heart to talk to someone. Anything is possible with anyone. If someone is not feeling well, they are not feeling well. If someone doesn't want to go to work, they don't want to go to work. We cannot be judgmental. That's when I say that being judgmental is a very important crux of being mindful. If someone says, I don't like a 9 to 5 job, and that's completely okay. He does not like to go to a 9 to 5 job because he is different. He wants to do different things. So that boy, I was really worried about that boy, because he said, my parents don't understand. They say, settle down. They say, all your friends are getting married, so you also get married. I don't want to get married right now. That's okay. So I think, we make everything a social norm. That if everyone is doing this, you also do this. If everyone is studying this, you also study this. So generalizing things, or generalizing cultures, or generalizing studies, or anything, I think we should give it a break.
It's interesting because I think you're right. I've had the same conversation with other therapists this week, where looking at other young people and noticing that they really are struggling, that even though we've got devices and they've got friends, they feel really isolated, quite lonely, not able to share their inner thoughts, or feel misunderstood by family in a way. And I think you're right, isn't there? There's also an expectation that people in certain parts of the world, or even here in the UK, where parents expect children to kind of toe the social lines of the norm. And young people are different, aren't they? They don't necessarily want to do, or not all young people, but some. But it feels like sometimes being different is a bad thing, whereas actually being different is a normal thing.
It's a normal thing. And I think as parents, we must support children when they are different, because, as it is, they face the brunt of the society. And if the only people that they feel that they can fall back upon is the parents, and if they also, do not support them, where will they go? They have no place to go, right? So that's why, so many rising cases of depression, anxiety, ADHD, frustration, everything. And in that moment, they are not able to do what they should be doing, and they're not able to do what they want to do.
What's is interesting, isn't it, that there is a rise of ADHD and other, I think, like depression and anxiety is risen, skyrocketed. Suicide ideation in the UK is on the rise. Some of it, I wonder, is about kind of how do we connect? And I think, I think that probably you might say, actually, we connect with ourselves, with our breath, with our own internal world, we're able to better deal with things. Do you agree, or do you think there's other ways of better connecting?
See, in these cases, when people are going through something, I think they need someone to support them. When you are already alone, it's very difficult to bring your attention. Somebody should be able to tell you that what you need to do. Nobody can do it on their own. Like, if before I knew about mindfulness, and if somebody told me that, okay, if you're anxious, pay attention to your breath, that would not make sense to me, because I don't know about anything about it. I don't know how it works. So you need a hand holding for this before you step into the practice. And even before that, you need someone to talk your heart out. And that is why I always say that talk as much. Let people talk. Let them just talk whatever they want to, without stopping them, without judging them, or without, coming to conclusions. That if they are saying this, it means this. If they are saying this, that means they are not a good person. So coming out of all those, preconceived notions or judgments or whatever it is, we must just mindfully listen to what they are saying, having no judgments at all.
And I think that's interesting, because I think as we're trained, I think, in therapy to kind of listen without judgment. But there is a lot of judgment in our lives, or
Exactly.
we want to interpret the stories that our clients say to mean something specific, and they just are stories. They're not necessarily good or bad in its presentation. So there's something about, how do we not react to what the people are saying, but look for understanding and meaning? Is that kind of where your kind of ideas are based?
I think we should also not look for meanings.
Oh, and also not look for meanings. Okay. But how do you do that? Because I'm a probably meaning person. So not look for me. So just to see the information as it is.
Yes, to see the information as it is. You just got the statement absolutely right. If someone is saying, I'm not feeling well, rather than, thinking about what all reasons are not making you feel well, for some time, at least for that moment, just trust them that they are not feeling well. That's it. I think we do not need to take meaning out of it or to make stories out of it. Just let them be, because sometimes all people want is someone who listens to them just as they speak. They don't want any suggestions. They don't want any solutions. They don't want any advice. They just want you to listen. If they are crying, just let them cry. Don't tell them not to cry. So I think being with that feeling, being with that emotion, helps them heal that emotion. Once, if somebody is feeling like crying, if they cry it out in front of you, if they have a shoulder to cry on, I think nothing is a better medicine than that. It is a healing in itself.
I'm smiling. So if anyone can see me, it's the audio, but I agree with you. Actually, how do you not rescue? I think early in my practice, I would have wanted to rescue, before I became a therapist, I probably wanted to rescue all the people that I ever worked with. But actually to trust that the universe is kind and gracious, and that actually the feelings are feelings, and that is it. It comes and it goes and it's there. Maybe it's about witnessing. I'm better at witnessing people's expressions and emotions without wanting to fix people's expressions and emotions. That is good enough, and not attach meaning. But I think that's quite a hard practice to do in some ways.
Yes.
Because we're fact meaning people. We kind of want to make sense of the world in some way.
Yes. And I think that's where we are somewhere wrong. We commit a mistake just exactly there. Because we are always, trying to find meaning, trying to find answers, why something happened, what will happen. So I think just, witnessing that, okay, this has happened, that's it. And that's a full stop. So we don't
This
need
has
to...
happened and that's it. And that's a full stop. I think I'm going to have to practice that, because I don't know that. There's a part I absolutely agree with you, and I probably would say that to my clients. But I think I wonder, in terms of practice, how do you just have that full stop, that pause, and just sit with it? I think that probably would be, when I was cultivating a practice, patience is probably not my biggest, it's my easiest things. And so you're inviting me to just pause and just be and not do.
Yes. So I think if we just be and not always try to do, there are times when you need to do, but, initially sometimes let the things sink in, settle down, like disturbed waters. So they don't give you a clear reflection. So I think let the waters settle down, let them rest. And I think then the reflections become more clear. So we usually jump into those disturbed waters.
That is true. And absolutely, I think that, yes. So I want to know, on behalf of everyone, where can we find you? What are you writing about? There's so many questions to ask.
Okay.
Are
So,
you online or?
yes, I am online. I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn. And I have a blog on Substack on which I write monthly or bi-monthly. And I also have podcasts wherein I share mindfulness practices as to how they can practice. And
What's your podcast called and what's your book called? So we need to find you.
okay, so my podcast is called Spiritual Healing. And the name of my book is Barefoot to Boardroom.
Barefoot to Boardroom.
Yes, it's available on Amazon, written by Dr. Namrata Shukla. That's my, pen name.
And what is your book about?
As I said, my book is about the story of my grandfather who came from a very humble background, and he went to school barefoot, and he rose to being the highest ranking official in the coal industry of his time.
Wow.
So he has quite, very enriching journey, I would say. He learned a lot, and with his sheer perseverance, with his humility, and I think he had a lot of humility, and the one thing that he never did was indulge into any sort of wrong practice, and that also I've mentioned in that book, because my grandfather used to say that his father told him just one thing, that if you want to grow in life, take the longest path, because it may take time, but it will help you reach your destination. Never try for shortcuts. Shortcuts may help you reach faster, but they are not sustainable. So I think he inculcated that in his life, and he taught this to my father, and my father taught this to me. So, we have been following this practice since 4 generations now.
I know. And so, I'm mindful of the time, so I can't even ask you. But I would be so interested in your granddad's father, because it feels like the energies or the ancestors, wisdom really kind of flows through your family. That actually, there's something really beautiful about the values and the ideas that are being passed down. As a British-born Caribbean ancestry, and I suppose my ancestry is one of slavery. One of the things that I miss about my ancestry is not knowing those stories, and having to find those stories in the present moment rather than know them handed down to me through the past. So I think it's just really beautiful just to hear you talk about your family, your practice, your ideas, and the way that you see the world. And I really, really am so glad that you agreed to share this with us. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure being here. It has been wonderful speaking to you and, sharing with whatever, is that I have learned. I'm still learning. I'm a learner, and I keep learning. I learn from my children. I learn from my surroundings, my spouse, my parents, everyone. Everyone has some or the other lesson to teach us, provided we are aware, we are open, we are receptive.
I will leave it at that. Thank you very much, Namrata, for being curious with Counselling Reflections. I really do appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thank you so much. Pleasure for me.